supportive, even if I didn't think they were being supportive. They knew me, they know me, they see me in a way that my friends don't see me, and there's a lot of wisdom in that.
Again, I don't know how to follow that one. Big regret was, we came from a very poor family. We were rich in knowledge, we were rich in many things, but we just didn't have assets. I literally came to the United States on a scholarship and a plane ticket. And that was it, and I had no idea what else was going to happen. And I got kicked out of Africa and kicked out of England. I got here. And I wish if we had more assets, if there were things like what you're doing with the young women and what not-for-profits are doing now, I think the world would be so much better. Just great promise. So, but for the grace of God, there go I has been my line almost every single time, because I'm blessed. We live in, look where we live. My God, it's amazing.
Thank you. Any questions?
I will ask, I don't believe in regrets at all. So I actually would like to know, what is the most exciting experience in your life so far? Like most exciting and so much fun there in your career or personal life.
It's like going from one extreme to the other.
Oh, no, you get to go first.
So I was 17 years old and I came to America, and to this day, so I'm on a plane during the air traffic controller strike going from London to Dallas, and I'm listening to Neil Diamond singing, the jazz singer, and he's singing "We're Coming to America Today," and I'm coming to America. Nothing's beaten that yet. Nothing has beaten that yet. Every time I get a little jaded or whatever, something happens to just say, yes, that was the right decision.
Awesome.
I don't know if I can follow that. When my youngest sister said she was proud of me, that I've saved that text. It's still in my phone. I will probably save it to the day I died. But it meant something for the younger sister that I maybe disciplined more than I should have. For her to say that for her to see me and for her to be proud of me. It's the most exciting point of my life.
Nice.
Thank you. Anybody else has anything? You want to come up front? Yeah. Thank you.
So with the Black founders, you said people reached out from like England and all over the world. So I was just wondering if there's any kind of common experience about like Black people who are also founders globally, and like how that kind of compares and contrasts with like American or African Black founders.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's a power that you are able to have when you've grown up in the majority. So that's a little bit of a difference between, say, a Black founder that grew up, say, on the continent, than a Black founder that grew up in the United States. If you grew up in the majority, I'll be honest, there's a little bit of a different sort of confidence that comes along with that. You don't feel as much of an outlier as maybe someone who grew up in the US and they were a minority group. Now that switches if you're an immigrant, and I would say that even if you're a French immigrant, I don't care where you're from, you come to the United States, it's this weird sort of disconnect of where you used to be in a majority and there's this confidence that you grew up with, and now you're in the US and people don't trust you as much, or they have these assumptions about you that maybe people didn't have that assumption about you in your home country. And that's sort of, this sort of makes people a little bit less certain, but at some point they do find their feet underneath them. So I would say that that's maybe the difference between founders that are, say, like from Nigeria and founders that are in the United States. But then outside of that, if you're a founder, I agree, there's a little bit of that craziness gene. Just like if you're an immigrant, no matter if you went from the US to live in England or wherever, there's this gene that you have inside of you that's okay not necessarily being in your home country. And so that's what I've seen.
So it's interesting that you mentioned that. I think there's common experiences because founders are always struggling. They're the scrappy ones. And so when so our fund is a global fund. So a partner in Singapore, a partner in Poland, a partner in Dublin, a partner in Israel, a partner in Dubai just last week, a partner in Sao Paulo, here in Canada. So even though we're Canadian, what we're doing is we source deals around the globe. We have this really weird bias among VCs over here, only Americans are smart. I'm like, dude, let me explain something to you. That's not true. Right? I am an example of that's not true. And I met a wonderful, really amazing person who was very insecure. She's South Korean black. And she grew up in South Korea and in London. So you're talking about schizophrenia? Right. She's like, okay, I'm more schizophrenic than you because you're Indian but grew up in Africa and all of that other stuff. But the interesting part was she's so scrappy. So we're funding her. She's doing a really cool startup, which is a climate startup, which is very unusual. She's a woman founder. We actually had someone who had the similar idea, was male, and I decided to go with her because she's so dang scrappy. And this is the piece that makes, I think, founders different, is that they're very scrappy. They're not willing to deal with the status quo. The other piece is, and this is why the journal really matters, listening to yourself. This is what, the journal is really listening to yourself, listening to your own heartbeat, listening to who you are and who you're becoming. And when you go back and reflect on it, and you're like, ooh, that changed. And the moment you can see that you have changed, the confidence that brings is amazing. And it's not you comparing yourself with somebody else, it's you comparing yourself with you. And to me, that really, really matters.
Yeah, I agree. There's a common gene. Founders, regardless of where they are, they're just not satisfied with the way things are. And things bother them. They're like, this could be better, this could be more efficient, this could be bigger, this could be ... Drives their family members crazy, of course, because they're like, why can't you be satisfied? But there's something inside of them that they can't help but want more.
Thank you very much. Moving on, I want to summarize my takeaway with one last question. When you see somebody or some organization like Kickoff Solutions today, very early into the nonprofit space, evolving as we are moving on, but we are clear as to what we want to achieve moving forward. When you see, what words of encouragement or what words of caution would you like to give?
You really can change the world. I know that sounds crazy to say that, but has anyone in this room met someone or known someone before they became successful? Raise your hand. Like financially or however you want to define success. Are those, like, you would meet them and you would think that they're normal people, right? Yes, I was talking about the founder gene, but if you fight hard enough and with enough wisdom, I think that you can grow the organization to go past however number of girls that you're thinking. And so, what is the advice I would give you? Advice one, have team members that support your vision and fill in gaps that filling gaps that you have in your own skill set. So for example, with the 4 of us with Black founders, Hadia and I worked out a particular partnership, and also heads up, when we first started, we butted heads hardcore, but she's probably the one that I'm like closest to, or that we work the best together as a team. And we realized very early on that my job was to go out and go kill, which was go get the sponsorships, and she would bring it back into the company and clean it. And one role was not better than the other. We needed each other to be able to carry the burden. And so maybe the caution I would give that that founders sometimes accidentally step into, or like the landmine, is thinking that they can do it all without any help. You really can't. You can make it go to a certain point, but if you want it to grow and not just barely exist, you're going to need team members and people that are better than you.
Thank you.
Wow, okay. What's your superpower? Everybody's got one. What's your superpower?
I can sit in the front bench.
Courage, right? What's your superpower?
Humbleness.
Humbleness? Cool. Sir, what about you?
Good imagination.
Yeah, see, what happens is, the interesting part is we all have a superpower. Are you aware of it? And two, do you connect with other people using this language? Well, Muhammad knows, so his brother Sheikh and I are very good friends. We work together, and by the way, go Team USA for the Women's World Cup, right? And we work together, and we're working in a company, and we were doing stuff that was completely wacky, and we wanted to watch the World Cup. And we had these flat screen TVs in the company, we had internet, but this is 10 years ago, and we're like, okay, how do we watch the World Cup? So we figured out a way to watch the World Cup. And Sheikh and I would watch the World Cup, and people would be like, what are you guys doing? We're working. No, but we can hear people cheering and all that. Yeah, we're working. But we made the whole place like become World Cup because Sheikh's superpower was, let's watch a World Cup. And each one of you is so empowered because you each have a superpower. The journal helps you identify major superpowers, minor superpowers, and superpowers you want to have so you can build them. Education is one way to do it, experience is another, but the other is, I'm really lousy at something. She might be really great at it. Guess what I do? I team up with her. Now we have 2 superpowers. And then we find other people and we team up with them. We have 3 and 4, and it starts to magnify. And my whole question is, what's your superpower and how do you use it? And she's in trouble now because now I know her. Now we're going to have some fun together. Fundraising, startups, etc., etc. Right.
You can start from here.
Yeah, so you guys are really empowering people by doing superpower through sports. And you're teaching people confidence, and you're getting people to talk, and you're taking people to dialogue. You've got India. I would say venture to Africa. It's amazing. It's a great place to go as an African and an Indian. You know, I don't fit into, my superpowers, I don't fit into any block you want to put me in. So what we got to do is we find ways to mix things up. We will become better for it, and your organization will grow amazingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Supreet. Thank you, Nnena. Thanks for sharing your journey with us. Nnena, thanks for sharing your early into the childhood. I would say early into your childhood, you were already privileged to have a father like that.
Yes.
Who stood by you and who gave you the confidence. And we have many who don't even get that privilege, right? Thanks, Supreet. I'm going to definitely try and carry some of the advice that you gave. It was very, but this is the first time I heard somebody say that they were kidnapped by their parents. So that was really an eye-opener.
I was kidnapped. I was having fun with grandparents. Then all of a sudden I have to do chores.
Thank you, both of you again. It's a huge encouragement that you have come here. I have just one last thing here. For today, we were thinking of some memento that we can have for this event. If somebody wants to, have some donation and take that. We just released a long t-shirt with these words, that her courage is legendary. And I'm going to ask, and another super encouragement that we have our leadership here. Emmanuel, I'm going to request you to come forward, please. Emmanuel is our devices and services lead globally in Google, handling the entire hardware portfolio, and he's here to encourage us. Emmanuel, I just want you to basically hold this so that as a release for the design and say a few words of encouragement.
Well, first of all, sorry I came in so late. I got a bit lost, believe it or not, getting to the Google building to start. So thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you for allowing me to give a couple of words. Super inspirational, the comments that I got to hear. We're very lucky to have you here, teaching us so much about life and how much about what's really important in our day-to-day. So with that, I want to thank you for the opportunity, for sure.
Thanks. Thanks, Emmanuel. All right, so we will break now. But we will encourage you to step forward. If you want to understand more about these girls, their story, we will be right here talking about it. We have not really defined a contribution. I know it gets a little tricky, but we just kept a memento there. If you want, you can go forward, have your donation given. Otherwise, let's network a little bit. You want to understand more. Nnena and Supreet, if you're around for a few more moments, then I would want to give others opportunity if they want to still interact with you. But make use. Don't let the samosas go waste. All right? Thank you so much again. Thank you so much.
Whatever came to mind. He's a young boy. He should be bubbling with ideas, questions. I think it might be. What you think is right? And finally you think of, say, if your papa asks you, what do you want to have tomorrow? In the breakfast. So like sometimes, when we talk, certain things are behind us. So, if you say, I want hot dogs, you must know what normally is available in the package. Yes, available in So, whenever you get an opportunity anywhere, put a question, no problem. Put that question, what is the choice? Most of us drink. He says,